Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of One Vision, the Fintech Fuse. This is Theo, your host for today's episode. Joining us is Angi Milano, founder and CEO of Maven Advisory and co-founder of GTM Loop podcast. Welcome to the show, Angi.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today and chat with you.
Yeah, I know it's taken us a while. My
Wow.
apologies. Sorry about that. It was just like running around. I feel like you and I were passing ships. We did
hmm
manage to meet in Finovate Fall in New York last year, but I know that we've been running in the same circle.
hmm
Um, was it Tammy who introduced us a while ago?
I
Can't
think
remember
so.
now.
Tammy
I think it was
Bangs,
Tammy.
who I
Yeah,
adore. I love her. She's one of my favorites.
she's amazing.
She's
Yes. I
awesome.
mean, who doesn't love Tammy? So,
Yeah.
hi, Tammy. We miss
Hi,
you.
Tammy.
Um, all right. So, let's talk about Angi. The next half hour is all about you. Let's talk
Awesome.
about what you've done because you have a really long career arc that has been on multiple sides of the table, different parts of financial services. You've done traditional banking, you've done digital marketing, fintech sales, um, and now you're doing something completely different.
hmm
You have decided to quote unquote bet on yourself. I think that's what you wrote on LinkedIn.
That's right.
So let's talk about your career journey and also what made you decide to make the switch. It's quite different, isn't it?
It sure is. I feel like I am one of those people that I actually like being uncomfortable. I like being a little bit unsure of where I'm headed. And originally, my career, I was a web designer and I was working in the travel industry. And when everything happened, the fallout after, 2008, a lot of those programs internal were getting cut. So we were doing incentive planning for large corporations that those dollars just weren't there anymore. So at that time, I thought, okay, well, I'm ready to make a pivot. And I was tired of design, especially because I was doing a lot of mobile, pre-mobile design. So a lot of flash and animation and stuff like that, which was killed and clubbered by everything we know today. So I had talked to a friend. She said, hey, I work at a financial institution. We're looking for digital marketing strategists. Let's see how you feel about it. So I went in and did the interview, and it was HSBC. It was a great team. Cards, it was basically private label credit cards. And my goal was to get a digital engagement and adoption. And so I was on the paperless team, try to quote unquote, get people to go digital and stop sending statements, stop going to branches, all that. So I joined that team, and that's really where my career in financial services was born. And about a year after getting hired on there, our division got acquired by Capital One, and just drastically different approaches. So HSBC was very open. We got to strategize and go cross team and all of that. Capital One's a little more buttoned up. So it was very siloed. And it just became something where everybody migrated over to where the rest of our team went. So that took me to City Group. And there I was doing personalization and ad. So digital marketing to support advertising our merchants. So that was a whole big kind of segment of my career. And then when I realized I kind of like banking and I want to learn more, there was an opportunity to go and run channels at a credit union. I went to BCU and super old school running online banking. So I'm thinking of some of the things I implemented there that were vetting fintech. We were really early sign on and adopter of Alchemy, made an investment in that company. I think I was user number 2 of Savvy Money. So it was like thinking about how do you buy fintech now and being on the other side of the fence and making those decisions. Spent some time at Alliant Credit Union in the mobile side of the house where I had a DevOps team. We built out an entire gateway connection layer. But really, it was those experiences that got me involved and really into fintech. And I was recruited from a fintech that was hiring salespeople that were not traditional salespeople. So I went in part of a team, really got the sales bug. Just sales really hit me. It was my thing. And I've never looked back. It was from day one of going into fintech sales and fintech, that's where I fit the best. And I think once I reached that, I stopped searching for what was next. And that was the next. So it was always, how do I get better at what I do? How do I help people to get better? And 6 acquisitions later, two pre
Wow.
fintech and 4 post. And yeah, last year I decided, I'm kind of tired of all the acquisitions. I'm tired of being part of someone else's roadmap and strategy and driving revenue for somebody else. And that's, my idea of taking a bet on myself is a lot of times when you're on teams, especially that close to acquisitions and mergers and that kind of activity, you're seeing patterns over and over where I would know something was coming, but it wasn't my decision or I wasn't in control of what could happen and what would happen to me as a larger entity would acquire me. So that's in my mind, it was, you know what, I'm going to fall on my own face if I make the wrong decision, but it's my decision and I made it. And that's really what led me to go out on my own. So it's been just like a year, a little over a year.
Congratulations on the
Thank you.
first year.
Thank you.
I think a lot of us who turn independent have a similar sentiment. We see the patterns keep
Mm-hmm.
repeating, and you feel like you could have done something differently, you could have handled it differently. You
Mm-hmm.
want that freedom, the latitude to be able to make different choices. And that's what drives a lot of us to go independent. I've done it for 8 years now, have not gone back, haven't
I
looked
love it.
back. It's perfect. Of course, nothing is perfect, right? It's like up and down, and there are pros and cons, but by and large, I enjoy the pros. Um, what about you? What do
Yeah.
you like the most? 1 year in, what do you like the most about being independent?
So I think one of the biggest things that appeals to me is obviously the unstructured nature of the work. It's up to me how much I take, when I do it, if I'm working at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I'm a night person and I could be up,
Yeah, man.
you know, I just, that's how I operate. So there isn't that like structure that you need to follow. So the idea that I'm in control of how I get done, what I get done, who I work with, what are some of the solutions out there that I really enjoy. But the biggest thing for me has been the ability to say no to the things that I don't want to do and that take my energy away. So everybody who knows me well knows one of the things that I love is any kind of solution in the fintech space that helps with financial wellness, inclusion, empowerment, all those different things. So it's easy for me to say I prioritize those companies. So if somebody is looking for advisory that is in that space, I will more than likely pick them because my time is not unlimited. I have to cap how many people I work with. Was a person who's a free agent, so to speak. I can pick whoever I want to work with and really marry the two things I need, which is, obviously still need to make a living. I'm not independently wealthy where I could just retire and, go sit on the beach somewhere drinking mimosas at, 9 a.m. But I also can pick and choose a little bit of who I support and what are the things that are important to me. And the other part is I get to really pick and choose how I live my life, the amount of time I spend doing things with my family, or I have family overseas. I'm not originally from here. So can I go down there and spend the holidays with them every single year, spend summer there? It really doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, as long as it's feeding the right balance of revenue versus giving back. So that's been the biggest, I think, learning for me is I like unstructure. I'm okay being uncomfortable. There are, ebbs and flows in the working for yourself, but I kind of like that. It works for me.
It, I, I can tell. I can tell, and that's amazing. I think at the end
Thank
of the
you.
day, you know, we all work differently. So one
Hmm.
model doesn't always work for everyone, but you found what you like. And like you say, you stop searching for what's next. So,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sometimes it takes people forever and you got it. Now,
So
looking
excited.
back though, right, it is exciting. What might you tell your younger self before you got here of some of the things that you learned?
Oh my gosh, so much. Because
Or would
I
you not
feel,
say anything like, you know what, kiddo, you're going to have to pay your dues?
yes, within reason. So I think the biggest thing that I would say, I do think that there isn't a good sense of learning and sometimes making mistakes. I'm a firm believer that your mistakes teach you more than your successes. And so I think a little bit of trial by fire, learn things as you go. But the biggest thing that I would share is it took me a long time to understand the power of no. It's my feel like that's my favorite word, and it sounds like such a weird or negative thing to say, but there are so many things in life that you should say no to for different reasons. Sometimes you're doing something to please somebody else. Maybe you're taking on too much and you know it's going to wear you down or it's going to drain your energy, but you're saying yes because you should or it's a nice thing to do. No, you should balance what naturally is better for you as a person. And I think that would be the biggest lesson for my younger self is I was very much into pleasing other people and making sure that everyone else was taken care of before me. And that didn't always serve me well. It made me stress. It made me not as creative as I could have been. I feel like had I learned that lesson sooner, younger, I would have been able to go out on my own way before, way before now. So I think that's the biggest thing is that power of no and knowing when your limits really are hit and you have to turn somebody down is a powerful lesson that I wish I had learned when I was in my 20s.
I think it comes with experience too. It's hard. Like it feels like a life lesson. I know, you and me, we're both parents, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things I keep trying to get my kids to know. Like, you don't have to please everybody. It's okay. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need everyone to like you. And very often, especially to my daughter, when I say that, her first response is, "But mommy, you don't understand." Like,
Yes, I do.
I do. It's just that over time, now I get to the point where it's okay if you don't like me. Um, I don't give a damn. So,
Right.
but it comes with age.
Does.
The courage builds up as
Mm-hmm.
you find your footing. And it takes a while. It takes a while. I don't know, but I'm happy for you. I'm really happy
Thank
for I can feel you bubbling through the screen.
you.
What
Thank you.
about like you love to sell. You said sales is the one thing that you love.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people, so many companies, so many early stage startups
Mm-hmm.
who are trying to sell into financial institutions. What are some of the common misconceptions that they have that you wish they would know?
Oh, I think selling into regulated industries as a whole is difficult because of the landscape that you have to play into. So, my first foray into financial services banking, I was so overwhelmed by all the acronyms, all of the things that you have to know. And it felt like everywhere I turned, there was a roadblock. But by working my way through that industry, everything else I've done in my career has been easy compared to that, compared to compliance, third party risk management, all of the things that we have to deal with. And it makes it difficult to sell into, especially if you're not from the space, because we take for granted that we know all of these things. We know why third party risk management takes longer at a multi billion dollar institution than it does at a smaller asset size financial institution. The regulatory landscape is different for them. So I think one of the things that I feel very strongly about as you're building in fintech, and this comes up to me and over and over in the advisory space, is people who are coming in and saying, why does it have to take this long? I want it to be faster. I'm going to make it be faster. I don't want it to be like this. And sometimes I feel like, why did you build a fintech? Like those are
Should have gone
that's
to a
the,
different place.
yeah, right? Like build a
Yeah.
direct to consumer thing then. You're just working within a consumer landscape. So one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that if you're going to be building in fintech, a fintech that you're selling to credit unions, to banks, there should be a basic level of understanding. And I almost feel like there should be a course where you understand what banking is. What is it? It's not the amount of times that I hear people say, we're selling to banks. And then in the same breath, they're talking to me about credit unions, or they're using the same terminology to refer to a community bank versus a very large multinational bank. And they don't know the difference and the nuance. I feel like it makes it harder to sell into these industries when you don't understand the lanes that they all play in. They're all different, they all serve a different purpose. And if you understand those purposes, you can create your market and your marketing and your sales and all your go to market strategies to support the one that fits your product best, as opposed to just that like spray and pray. I'm just going to put this thing everywhere and it's going to go. So I think that the biggest takeaway for me is have a basic understanding of what financial services is, what a regulated industry is, and the complexity that comes along with all of the different vendors that they deal with, legacy players that they can't rip and replace. What is the complexity within compliance? What happens if they take a bet on your fintech and that fintech can't deliver against something that is a regulatory changing, evolving norm that they have to adhere to? Those are the things that make you a better seller and a more compassionate and empathetic person, that you're solving a problem together and not that it's, I'm selling this widget. It's great for everyone in banking and you should buy it because it's awesome. A lot of times that is the sentiment that I get. And I feel like that's a really difficult way to make your way.
Yeah. Or I've seen founders who come in and basically say things that makes you feel completely antiquated, and the
Mm,
whole you mentioned the word empathy and compassion, that's gone. It's more like, well,
right,
you're the dinosaur and I'm coming in and telling you this is how you're supposed to do things. And it's
right,
like, okay, kid.
right,
All right, hang on. Right. Because
right.
I think there needs to be at least a fundamental appreciation of you are in the business of helping people move money, for
Yes.
lack of better words, right? We're moving money from consumer to consumer, consumer to business. However, it is about moving money. You
Hmm.
can't just get it right most of the time.
Time.
You have to get
Yes.
it right all the
All of the
time,
time.
right? And so that takes skills, that takes
Hmm.
understanding, that takes the patience to know why things are the way they are before you go in and rip everything out. I think that part, I don't know if it's because we're always busy running around, or we're too eager to say there is a different way, that we forgot the learning part. I don't
Right.
know.
And the
Yeah.
listening of what you're solving for. So if you talk to 10 different financial institutions, you realize that each one of them has their own niche or their own product mix that they solve for. Sometimes it's their demographic that they solve for. You could have a bank that's looking at small business as their core customer, and they have different needs than someone who's very heavy retail with a portfolio that is aging. They need different tools, and those people are valuable as well. You're looking at how do you engage and incentivize younger consumers that are going to be driving this forward, that don't necessarily even identify with banks. So that idea that your product can solve a problem without finding out what is the problem of that financial institution, I think is short sighted. And I think that's what sets off that like closed off nature when you meet someone and you say, I can solve your problem. And you feel like, you don't even know what my problem is. How do you know you can solve it? So that is, I feel like more of an empathetic, like solution focused selling approach that works way better. And I think gives you the wins that repeat over time. Sometimes wins aren't closing deals. I've had wins where I made a connection with somebody in the network that is a banker that I can go to and run ideas off of that's never bought anything from me. But it doesn't matter. It's still a win to me because I get to go to that person and ask them a question about maybe something I want to build or one of my founders wants to build. And I can ask them for feedback in the industry. And there was no revenue win for me, but it's still a win overall. So it's
I
looking at
have
that as
those
well.
too. Yes, and I love those, especially someone to bounce ideas
Hmm.
off of. That's always helpful. It doesn't always
Exactly.
have to be a transaction per se.
Right.
So I love your approach. Now let's look at the new year that we are in right now.
Hmm.
I can count the buzzwords. What are some of the top trends that get you actually excited instead of just waving a magic wand?
Yeah, so I think, everybody, I think 9 times out of 10 right now, what people are talking about is AI and stablecoin, all that. And I am excited for the fact that last year those were ideas and this year we're implementing those. But I'd like to go outside of that for my response. So one of the bigger things that I've seen as a huge trend over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years, post COVID, really, is the idea that we're all ramping back up to what it's like to be in person again. And I feel like in person wins now. And I'm excited to see how that plays out in 2026. And that is across the board. It's not just going to events and being in person and running into you in the hallway at Money 2020 and saying hello. It's also how we are approaching social selling and social media, how we engage with those platforms. Most of us are all on LinkedIn because that's where our audience is. I feel like the engagement there is become more real. And so it feels more like a community again. I'm excited for community to be back and for all of us to be looking forward to being in person. It's actually a lot of what I'm building out in the GTM loop with Holly, who we've been really focusing on doubling down on that. How do we create solutions that help people to be more effective in person, generate better return on their spend from events, and really double down on what it means to be in a community again? So that's my number one. I'm super excited to see what 2026 brings for all of us as in person community kind of approach. The second one, I think, is centered around what we all get bombarded with every single day. So, messaging, as we all are looking at different fintechs, especially lots of solving for the same type of outcome, and the messaging is all starting to blend together, and you're hearing the same kind of thing over and over, which is going to force two things. One is going to be a longer sales cycle as financial institutions start to have to decipher what actually am I seeing and hearing here. It's going to force all of us to be more real and to stop with the like very generalized approach, which is a lot of what we were just talking about in pitfalls. It's thinking about, how do I show up to a client meeting or even to a Zoom and having done a ton of research, which by the way is so much easier now with the advent of AI tools that we can all afford to put into our tech stack. So I think it's going to force that realness and understanding how we solve real problems and outcomes that can be generated from our solutions, as opposed to coming in with this very generalized kind of approach. And then the third one, I think, is a no brainer, that it's people are more into almost like taking a pause and slowing down a little bit, because we've all been trained and ingrained that like the hustle culture, like getting a million things done and not sleeping, this and that. feel like that is starting to taper off now, and we're taking a breath and realizing what makes sense. So empathy, I feel like, is going to be more top of mind as we go into 2026. I feel like we've all been beat up a lot the last few years, and everyone's just like figuring out that we're all trying to accomplish a lot of the same things. So being empathetic for one another, and those are the things I'm looking forward to.
I feel like you were literally in my head, especially with the last part about the need to slow down. I just had this exact conversation right before we started, about the fact that we like to pride ourselves into, oh, now I found this tool and, I saved some time and I can be more efficient and I got, an extra hour. I, can do this like 2 hours faster. But instead of taking that time that we save and say, oh, that's a win for me, now I can use that and just sit back and relax, spend more time with family, walk the dog or what have you. We're like, yay, now have 2 extra hours to do more stuff.
Exactly.
Like, no, how about we just take that extra time and just chill and
Yeah.
pause for a little
Just
bit?
be.
Just be. Yes,
Right?
just
Just
be.
be.
Can we just be? I don't know about you. I am exhausted.
Me
And
too.
we're not even end of 26 yet. I
I
feel like
know.
we're end of the year. So I would love to just
Just be.
for this just be.
I feel
Just
like
be.
in sales too, the thing that happens in sales is you're always ahead, because if you're not thinking ahead, you're falling behind. And so I remember spending so much time not in the month, and sometimes not even in the quarter I was in. It was like, oh, well, oh, January, I don't even care about January. I'm in March. And it was like early January. And then you look back and you think, where did this year go? So that notion is never going to go away from sales, because that is the nature of what we do. But I think it's becoming a little more acceptable that we need downtime, and people are okay, I think,
Yeah, we need to
embracing that.
touch grass.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I love the touch grass thing. I ran into the team from Noble Mobile in Chicago at an event, and their whole thing was all the touch grass kind of messaging was great.
I learned it from my kids. So here, cross pollination.
There
All
you
right,
go.
before I let you go, if there's one thing we can change in our ecosystem, if you can wave your magic wand, Angie's wish, we have a little genie in front of us. What would that be and why? What
Oh
would you
gosh.
change?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, and it comes honestly on the heels of the conversation we just had, there is this push to constantly be ready. And I see it a lot in early stage where, maybe the raising, and the idea is that you have to now be ready, and you have to like, 6x, 4x, all of the different metrics that are centered around sales and revenue. And they they uh, they hover over readiness, which to me is the most important thing. Because if you're not ready to put your product, yourself, your team out in market for real, solving problems for financial institutions, being able to implement, actually being able to drive the outcomes and the things that you're setting out to solve for, it doesn't matter if you're closing deals, because the churn on the back end could be so much greater. So if it was up to me and I got to change how we all work, I think that real culture of pushing people to constantly perform before they're ready, and not giving the space and the time to figure out where you fit in, are you ready to play in that space, and how, like, almost like grace. That is what I would love to see change this year. Is there's a lot of great founders out there, there's a lot of great solutions that they're putting forward. Sometimes it takes almost like that sprint zero, that you sprinkle a little bit of knowledge on top and they are ready to go. I feel like that would be the grace that would do the entire industry and our ecosystem so much better is to take the time to get people ready for what they're about to face, especially when you go into the idea of 12-month sales cycles, God forbid 24-month sales cycles. Let
I
them be
was gonna
ready.
say, oh my
It's
God, yes, 1 year. And I remember this has been a few years now, but there was a particular group I was talking to, and they're like, Theo, it's been like a month now. I'm like, hunker down. Do you
right,
have a year? Because it's gonna take you that long, and this is just the first of many more meetings.
right.
You're not gonna get anywhere, if you don't have patience. You need that patience. I'm
Patience.
sorry, it's gonna take a while. Yes, patience is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue that I don't always possess, but I definitely appreciate why it's needed.
I am still learning. I am still learning.
Yes.
It's taking me a while, but I'm still learning. But until then, I do love your advice, the empathy about the messaging, about just be you, just be. So
Hmm.
that's that would be my wish. I don't make resolution because I know I break them,
Me
but
too.
that would be my wish.
Me too.
I just gave up on that.
No.
But hopefully, we'll see each other. We'll have a
Yes.
real in person, a little bit more than a hi and a selfie time. And
Yes.
that
Absolutely.
would be nice.
That would
Yes,
be so
yes.
nice. I'm sure I'll see you at one of the Finnovates, if not all, or at least Fintech Meetup or Money 2020. One of those.
I'll
I'm
see you
sure I'll be at
somewhere.
all of them. We'll see each other at some point.
Yes. And for any of you listening, come and say hi if you see either one of us around. And
Yes.
until then, thank you so much for joining me today, Angie. And for
You're
the
welcome.
rest of our listeners, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of One Vision. We'll talk to you next week.